The absorption approach discusses the effect of devaluation on the trade balance of the devaluing country. And unlike the elasticity approach, absorption approach is a macroeconomic approach, and it considers the devaluation causes for increase in export. Consequently, the income will increase. So when income is increasing, consumption and investment, investment and domestic consumption will increase, and the import will also increase, as all these three are the functions of income. It all depends on the value of marginal propensity to import, marginal propensity to consume, and marginal propensity to invest. So here today we have the second and third general rules for the effect of devaluation on the trade balance. Last class we have discussed when E is equal to 1, the trade balance after devaluation will be unaffected. So that is the first general rule. So when E, or marginal propensity to absorb, is equal to 1, that means B plus G is equal to 1, trade balance remains unaffected. So here let's have the second and third rule. Let's look first case 2, or second rule of the absorption approach. And here E is greater than 1, that means the marginal propensity to absorb is greater than 1, and it will surely worsen the trade balance of the devaluing countries. So that means the devaluation will lead to deterioration of the trade balance. Trade balance will be further deteriorate after devaluation as undesirable in the undesirable way. Suppose M is equal to 20%, that is marginal propensity to import is 20% or 0.2, and B is equal to 90, B is marginal propensity to consume is 90% or 0.9. G is marginal propensity to invest, it is 20% or 0.2. And here the marginal propensity to absorb, E is equal to B plus G. 90 plus 20 is 110%. That means the devaluation will cause for the change in domestic expenditure by 110% or 1.1. So then as per the absorption approach of Sidney Alexander, the devaluation is going to worsen the trade balance of the devaluing countries. Suppose originally in our example we suppose devaluation leads to increase in export by 40 million US dollar. Then let's look what would happen when E is greater than 1. And here we have to calculate first the foreign trade multiplier to estimate how much the change in income would lead to how much the export change in export would lead to change in income. So here the equation is given here, as you can read out. R is equal to 1 by 1 minus 0.9 minus 0.2 plus 0.2 is equal to 1 by 0.1 is 10. Then the here in this case foreign trade multiplier value is 10. That means the change in export is going to increase the income by 10 times. That means export has increased by 40 million US dollar. Then income change in income or delta Y would be 10 into 40, that is 400 million US dollar. Into B is marginal propensity to consume, it is higher in this case and it is 0.9. Then 400 into 0.9 is 360. So consumption is increased by 360 after increase in income and devaluation. And here in the change in investment, domestic investment or delta I is equal to, as it is a function of income, delta Y into G that is the delta I, that is the delta I or change in investment. So delta Y is 400, that is a change in income in this case after devaluation and multiplied by the foreign trade multiplier. In this case it is the total change in income is 400, and G or marginal propensity to invest is 0.2, then the value is 80. So investment increased by 80 after devaluation and the consequent changes in income and consumption, consequent change in income. And here in this case delta M or change in import is 80, that is its value is 20% or 0.2. Then when it is multiplied with the change in income, we will get the change in import. And here delta X is 40, that means export increased by 40, and the equation here is written as X minus M, that is the trade balance, is equal to Y minus A or Y minus C plus I plus G. C plus I plus G is termed as A or domestic expenditure, and here it is written as export was originally 60, it is increased by 40, then total export is 100 and total import is 160. Import is increased by 80. Previously, originally it was 80, then 80 plus 80 is 160. 100 minus 160 is the trade balance, and that is equal to the total income is 600. Previously it was 200. Income increased by 400. Then total income is 600 minus total consumption is 480. It was 120, increased by 360. Then here in this case 480 is the total consumption. Total investment is 160. It was previously 80, then increased by 80. It is total is 160, and 20 is the government expenditure. It remains constant. Then minus 60 is equal to 600 minus 660. Then minus 60 is equal to minus 60. Here the trade balance was in the original case was minus 20 is equal to minus 20. Then the trade balance has further deteriorated by 40 million US dollar. Now it is minus 60. That means $60 million deficit is there, increased by the deficit of 40 million US dollar. Then Y minus 60 in both sides. That means trade deficit as per the absorption approach is equal to the excess of domestic expenditure over national income. So here in this case total income is 600, domestic expenditure or absorption is 660, then 600 minus 660 is minus 60. That will be same as the trade balance. So devaluation increased the deficit by 40 million US dollar when marginal propensity to absorb is greater than 1. And let's quickly look at the third case of the general rule of the absorption approach of Sidney Alexander, and this is the case of improving the trade balance as marginal propensity to absorb, that is E. That means domestic expenditure is less than 1, then trade balance is going to be improved by after devaluation. Suppose M is 20%, B is 50%, G is 20%. That means marginal propensity to absorb E is equal to B plus G. It is just 50% plus 20%, that is 70% or 0.7. So that means whenever the income is increased, domestic expenditure is just going to be increased by 70%, not 110% as we saw in the last case. That means here in this case devaluation is going to improve the trade balance, and devaluation leads to change in export by 40. In all the cases export is supposed to be increased by 40 million US dollar, immediately or shortly after devaluation is declared in a country. Let's look at the example of this case, and first we have to know the foreign trade multiplier, how it has to be calculated for understanding the change in consumption. How much would be the change in consumption after, how much would be the change in income rather, to understand. So we need foreign trade multiplier to be calculated, and foreign trade multiplier value is 2. R is equal to 2. That means export is going to increase the income by 2 times. That is the meaning of the foreign trade multipliers value 2. Then consumption is delta C is change in consumption after devaluation, that is equal to delta Y into B. Delta Y is a change in income, into B is marginal propensity to consume. Change in income here is 80, as 40 is the change in export. 40 million US dollar export has increased by 40 million US dollar after devaluation in a country, and it has to be multiplied with 2, as foreign trade multiplier value is 2. Then 2 into delta Y, then 2 into change in export is 80. So delta Y into B is 80 into 0.5. 0.5 is the marginal propensity to consume. So consumption is going to be increased by 40 million US dollar, and delta I is equal to 16, as delta Y is just 80. 40 into 2 is 80 into G, or marginal propensity to invest, it is 0.2. Then 80 into 0.2 is just 16. Delta M is change in import is also just 16, as the marginal propensity to import M is also equal to 20% or 0.2. When it multiplies with change in income, 16 is the change in import. As you all know, delta X is 40. Export after devaluation is increased by 40 million US dollar. Here look at the equation here, that is X minus M, that is the trade balance, that is equal to Y minus A, or Y minus C plus I plus G. And here the total export in this case is 100. It was previously 60, and export has devaluation has increased the export by 40 million US dollar. Then 100 is the total export here in this case, and all the other cases export is total export after devaluation here is 100, and then minus 96. 96 is the total import in this case, as import is increased by 16 million US dollar only in this case. Original import is 80, then 80 plus 16 is 96 million US dollar. Then 100 minus 96 is 4. That means trade balance has become positive in this case, and Y minus A is Y here is total income in this case is just 280. That means originally it was 200, but the devaluation has increased the export by 40. Then 40 into multiplier value is 2, that is 80. Then 200 plus 80 is 280. 280 is the total income in this case after devaluation, minus C plus I plus G, that is total absorption or domestic expenditure. It is 160 plus 96 plus 20, that is the total domestic expenditure. 20 here is government expenditure, which is held constant. And let's calculate this one. Trade balance X minus M is 4. 100 minus 96 is 4. That is equal to, this trade balance is just equal to Y minus A. Y is the total income, A is the total domestic expenditure. That means trade balance is the excess of income over expenditure, as trade balance is positive. When trade balance is negative, that will be same as excess of domestic expenditure over national income. Here national income is 280, domestic expenditure or absorption is 276. Then that means its value is 4. That 4 is same as the trade balance of 4. So devaluation here has increased the trade balance by increased the trade balance, and the general rule here is when marginal propensity to absorb is less than 1, devaluation will lead to improvement in the trade balance of the devaluing country. So let me conclude the presentation. This is absorption approach put forward by Sidney Alexander. This is to identify the effect of devaluation on the trade balance of the devaluing country. Unlike elasticity approach, this is a macroeconomic approach. It considers the change in investment, change in consumption, change in import, everything, and how it affects the trade balance. And generally devaluation will increase the export, and when export is increased, income will increase by different value, depends on foreign trade multiplier. When income is increased, consumption will increase, depends on marginal propensity to consume. Investment will increase, depends on marginal propensity to invest. Import will be changing, depends on marginal propensity to import. So we have to calculate, we have to take all these values into account for measuring the effect of devaluation on the trade balance of the devaluing country. If the total absorption is greater than 1, devaluation will deteriorate the trade balance. If the total absorption or domestic expenditure is equal to 1, that means devaluation will not make any impact on trade balance. When the total absorption or domestic expenditure or C plus I plus G is its value, that means the marginal propensity to consume and marginal propensity to invest is equal to 1, then less than 1. If it is less than 1, devaluation will make better changes for the trade balance of the country. That means devaluation will improve the trade balance when marginal propensity to absorb is less than 1. Thank you.